because we will be recording. And I think we just got the notice. We will be recording, and that helps us keep a clean recording for those who aren't able to be with us today, but who watch the recording later. So we appreciate that. And I think that's most of the housekeeping things that we need to cover. So I will go ahead, and I think we will move on to our opening prayer this morning. Ellen is going to do our opening prayer. And Ellen, if you would lead us in our prayer.
Thank you, Kim. And I'm Ellen Van Belser. I'll put my info in the chat in just a minute. I'm in Greensboro and attend West Market Street Methodist Church. So let us pray. God of life, we praise you for the beauty of creation, its richness and variety. Yet, through greed and ignorance, we scar your world with plastic waste and throw so much away. Make us more like Jesus, treading gently on our common home, and breathe your spirit on us, that we may care more deeply for your earth. We ask this through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Ellen. I have the joy and pleasure of introducing our speaker today. And you have probably, if you've been on here, you've seen her. She has been handling our tech for us each week. And she now is going to present for us today. Dawn is a member of the Creation Care Ministry team for the conference. She lives here with me, not with me, but we both live in Winston-Salem. I better correct that, right? We don't live together. She is just in the same town. I love it. But she is the point of contact for the Yadkin Valley District, and I will be dropping her bio, I hope, into the chat here shortly. She sent it to me, and I'm going to try to do that. And I'll just pass it on to Dawn before I step on myself anymore here. And please just take it away, Dawn.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well. And I'm glad to see everybody. I'm going to go ahead and start powering through this presentation because we only have 30 minutes and this will not probably take the full 30 minutes, but I don't want to have to cut myself off or not have some opportunity at the end. So today, as you know, let me back up. As you know, we've been talking about the different legislation that passed at General Conference and its impact on the churches and how we can take that legislation and actually make it come to fruition. And today I'm going to be talking about the use of plastics resolution. And I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. Just talk about why we should be concerned about plastic, talk about the resolution and a little bit of the theology behind it. And then we can talk as a group about ways that we can actually implement what the resolution is asking us to do. So I'm going to start out with just talking about plastics. And I'm sure you guys who are all working on this creation care and are advocates and have been inspiring to all of us with your work probably know about it, but I'm just going to go ahead and just give you just a couple facts so we can just kind of think about plastic a little bit before we talk about the resolution. And so, as you know, we have a lot of plastic in our society. We learn that we go to the grocery store and we are surrounded by plastic. It probably has gotten worse since the pandemic. And it is really kind of proliferated everywhere. And so we kind of say, well, why is that a bad thing? And it's bad for the environment for many reasons. It doesn't biodegrade, it contributes to climate change, it pollutes the air, the water, and the soil. It can take hundreds or even thousands of years for it to break down. It builds up in the environment, it harms marine life, all types of wildlife, soil, groundwater. It contributes to climate change, pollutes the air, water, and soil, and it can alter our habitats. And we now know that it's leaching into our body. So it's there's really not a whole lot of good that comes out of plastic in that sense. There is, of course, all the things that, you know, plastic does have its features that make it work really well for our society, but I think the bad probably outweighs the good. So I'm just going to show you just a few statistics just about plastic. One is this is kind of where we are with plastic waste production. You can see back in 1980, we were probably producing about 50 million tons of plastic waste. And here in 2024, we're now at 400 million tons of plastic waste a year. And that's obviously a lot of waste. And you can see on this graph where that comes from. It's primarily packaging takes up a big chunk of that. And then of course there's the other pieces of things that use plastic. So we use a lot of plastic, and that needs to change for many, many reasons. Whoops, I don't know why this is not. Oh, I know why. Sorry. Okay. And so this is kind of what when we talk about the waste, and this is really kind of what the waste looks like all over the planet. And it's not a pretty picture. You look at that and it doesn't really make you smile. It doesn't make you feel good. It's a big, big concern. And um, so, and I'm going to show you one more scary little thing about plastic and then move on. And that is, this is, as you know, plastic kind of with its proliferation, and it's, you know, we produce, I said, about 400 million tons. And there's a chunk of that that goes into the oceans, as everybody knows. Everybody knows about the big pile near the Great Barrier Reef of plastic. And so this just kind of shows you the kind of things that do go into the plastic and how long it takes, how long their lifespan is. And so, you know, you look at a fishing line that's 600 years before it breaks down, and a diaper 450 years. All these things floating around the ocean is not good for marine life. It's not good for us. It's not good for the cleanliness of our oceans. So all these little things I'm throwing at you are just to kind of reinforce the issue that we have with plastic. And as Christians, as people who care about creation and who want to make the environment a better place for all of us, this is something that we really need to be concerned about. So, and this just is a picture of what those fishing lines can do to some of the marine life. So at General Conference, oh, I forgot about this slide, sorry. And this is one more thing. This is, and I'm going to have Kim just throw the link to this documentary into the chat, because this is a really great documentary about plastic and what happens in our body and the cost, kind of the hidden cost of microplastics and nanoplastics, which drift in the air, float in the water, mix in the soil, become part of the environment. And now we're finding them in our organs, in our tissues, in the placenta of mothers. It's not a good thing. So I encourage you, if you are at all interested, just to check out this very good documentary. Okay. So we now have a resolution that passed at General Conference, yay, about the use of plastic to encourage our churches, our conferences, all of us to cut down on the use of plastic. And this is the guy who's introduced the resolution, Harold Ruckert. And I actually reached out to him. He is a bishop in Germany. I think he's the resident bishop of the General Conference there. And he actually responded to me and sent me all this literature about his resolution. But guess what? It was all in German. So, and I was like, oh, it's going to take me a long time to translate this into English. So at some point, I think I will, because I'm actually kind of fascinated by what he has to say. But I didn't do it in time for this show. But so I just wanted to just let you know about him and the fact that he was nice enough to across the ocean to send me the stuff. I was pretty impressed. So his recommendation was about the use of plastic, and And as you can see, it was adopted. It was for, 686 votes in favor and a few against. And what he does in this is really goes back and says, the earth is our good creation. It's obviously very valuable. And as members of the church, we are committed to caring for this and to be those kind of environmental stewards that it will really be responsible for handling the resources. I mean, I think that kind of goes back to Genesis, and we are kind of given this incredible, beautiful creation, not to really dominate, but to care for and nurture and to take care of. And so, what he does in this resolution that he cites the Council of Bishops that call for the practice of environmental holiness to conserve these natural resources. And so, when he takes that and says this is an important expression of this calling to use these renewable resources in gatherings and ministries, is to reduce the amount of plastic that we use at our churches meetings and beyond. And so I just want to kind of touch on this environmental holiness concept, because it's a concept that involves caring for the environment as a way to conform to God's image and values. And it's kind of based on the idea that God created the earth and desire for it to flourish, and that humans are called to care for it as part of that plan. And there was a woman, Ellen Marshall, who coined that phrase for the Council of Bishops foundation document and pastoral letter on God's renewed creation call to hope and action. And that was issued in 2009. And so, so it goes back, obviously, a few years. And I really really like that, that concept. And I mean, there's something about environmental holiness that kind of grabs you and holds you and kind of pulls you into that special place where we can be involved in a kind of holy tradition and concept of taking care of creation and taking care of the earth. And we can do that by conserving our natural resources, kind of partnering and defending God's creation, and using our power to kind of change the systems and structures that can destroy or deplete or damage our earth. And the bishops, during this letter, they didn't really explain the meaning, but this kind of, I think it kind of was, can go back and connect with Wesley and his term social holiness, because that kind of emphasized the need for community support for believers seeking to be perfected in love and life. And we can kind of tie the environmental holiness into that. And I'm just going to give you some ways that it can be expressed. It can be ecological spirituality, the idea that God desires for the earth to flourish and that humans are part of that plan, that there's faith in the healing energy of wildness, and that encountering nature involves a kind of faith in the holiness of creation. And also, when we do engage in environmental holiness, we're also reaching out to care for those that are marginalized, because when we care for creation, we care for everybody. And as Jesus taught us to love our neighbor, that's going to include all our neighbors for sure. So, and it includes our land and water and all the things that we use and our ecosystems use, and that make the creation as special as it truly is. So he ties it into that. And then you can also look back with this resolution and look at the social principles with both Reverend Brake and Kim talked about this last week, the change of our revised social principles in relation to creation care. And I just pulled up a reminder of that. And I'm not going to read all this to you, but you can kind of look at it and see that the church really does put this new and important renewed interest on creation care. So I think this resolution has got a pretty solid basis for that. And when you look at what we are called upon to do as environmental stewards by both our social principles, this whole concept of environmental holiness, doing this one thing in order trying to eliminate plastic from our lifestyles is really important. And so I think that this is something that hopefully we as churches, we as conferences, we as Methodists, we as a community can really work at and try to do. And so and just just to reiterate that we, and I just can pull this again from the social principles, it does include urging Methodists to adopt sustainable habits and practices, including refraining from overconsumption, repurposing, and recycling materials, and avoiding products that pollute or otherwise harm the environment. And that way we're able to really reduce our carbon footprint. And that's incredibly important. And I think as we think about this and look at this, for me, there is with this and with all of our creation care resolutions, there is this renewed sense of urgency, just knowing what's happening with down with the most powerful hurricane our country has practically seen, with Hurricane Mitch hurling toward Florida today, that is really caused by climate change. It is 38% stronger because of that. So this is, I just kind of skipped ahead and went to the end of his recommendation. So, and I got the impression when some of the email that he sent to me that in Germany, they have really taken this and run with it, and I think that may be happening in different parts of Europe. They're moving a little bit faster, maybe making a little bit more progress than we are on some of these, trying to change their lifestyles and their consumption, and they're making things mandatory and working toward getting as much plastic out of their systems as possible. And so with his recommendation, what he, after bringing up the why we need to do this, the theological impetus for it, he also talks about taking that and moving into the practical application of that. So we can take it and not just talk about it, not just think about it, but actually do it. And so in the actual recommendation, he makes some specific suggestions that for all church activities of local, annual, central, jurisdictional, general conference, everything, a strategy of avoiding plastics and reducing plastics. And so, we, in addition, that all delegates commit to a personal action of the same kind and modeling that. And I think, as everybody knows, modeling those kind of behaviors has a big impact, because you have everybody on this call, I know, has their friends who know their friends who know their friends. And we all have those circles and spheres of influence that when we do things and we talk about things and we educate people about things, it can make a long-term impact, because they go, oh, I didn't think about that. And that goes on and on and on and on throughout. And as a church, who's kind of like, people look up to the church, people emulate the church, people see the church as a role model, by engaging in these kind of practices, the impact can go way beyond just the one church doing this thing, because it is such a stakeholder, such a standard bearer. And so that's what makes it more impactful. And so that's why us taking this, making sure that it happens within our churches, our conferences, et cetera, so forth, the impact will grow and grow and grow. And I know sometimes people say, well, one person doing one thing is just, that's not really going to make an impact. And that may be true, but I always look at it as, this is one drop of water and you get bunches and bunches and bunches and all these drops of water, and that's going to create a big wave of water that really will make a difference. So the work can be difficult, it can be challenging sometimes, getting people to change behaviors, getting people to get rid of their plastic silverware, getting people to do all kinds of things. It takes some effort, but we have the passion, we have the need, and we know what we're doing is the right thing. So I think it's really important to move ahead. And I'm very grateful that this recommendation happened because there is such a high need for it. So what I'm going to do here, what we usually do is, I'll keep on going and then we'll take questions, but I thought I'd do it a little bit different with this particular Lunch and Learn. And because I am always fascinated by learning from people like you, because I am constantly on the learning curve. And every day I learn something that I didn't know before about this work. And so what I would like to do at this point, before I talk about ways we can do this, is just to see if anybody here on this call has any ideas, any suggestions, any comments about ways that they in their individual life, in their church life, have um, made a difference, have worked on this issue and done anything. And I'd like to hear from you first. And then I've got some ideas that I'm more than happy to share about how we can make this resolution come to life. So I'm going to ask Kim to see, because I am in this place where I'm staring at my screen with my big giant slide and can't see the chat. So I don't know if there's anybody out there that wants to add anything. And if there's not, then I'll just go ahead and power through my list. Kim, do you see anybody out there?
Yes, Nancy Keziah mentioned the opportunity to do Plastic Free July, which is a great resource, not only for July, but that's when they have their kind of monthly annual challenges, Plastic Free July.
Yeah,
And
Nancy,
that's
could you talk about that for 1 sec, just because I don't know about plastic free July.
Sure. Plastic Free July actually comes out of Australia and New Zealand, but they make a commitment because they find that July is a highest month of plastic as far as personal use plastic, because there's picnics, there's, all kinds of things people reduce, washing their dishes. So they started Plastic Free July, and they give suggestions, but now they've added, and you can just type in Plastic Free July on your search engine and you can join in, and then they have a list of ideas and they update it. You get a monthly email, and then in July you have a challenge, and each day there's a different challenge. So you have 30 days of challenge. I mean, it's just interesting, a different kind of thing that you can use.
Oh, well, I love that because it's got that interactive part, and you can look every day, what's the challenge today? Can I engage in that challenge? And those are the kind of things that I like to do, because it makes it, maybe not fun, but definitely entertaining for sure. A good way to do it. I like that. So thank you.
And the other one is Habits of Waste. And that's another one. I mean, they deal with other things besides plastic, but that's another resource to, I mean, there's a lot out there, but those are the two I found to be more hands-on useful.
Right.
Is
Thank you.
the Habits of Waste, is that a site that you go to?
Yes, it's a site you go to, and you can sign up for their newsletter, or you can just read some of their articles.
And
Right.
Dawn, we also had a comment from Karen Crutchfield, who said silicone lids eliminate plastic wrap in the kitchen.
Oh, that's a good idea, Karen. Silicone lids. Yes, silicone as a replacement, because that can be used over and over again. And that's important.
Can I add, one of the things we did at our church, we had a plastic display. Use this instead of this. And we had all the different things, and then they could we had a QR code. So people could just take a picture of the QR code and it would give them a list to take home. But we had a lot of comments on that. People just didn't think about it.
Right. Oops, sorry.
Do you have that list that you could forward to us?
Well, I don't have I can forward it to Kim, and then she can forward it out. If that's okay, Kim?
Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah,
Okay.
because we do a follow-up with the links, and I'm writing down
Okay.
some of these suggestions, and we'll include those so everybody will have them. And so yeah, Nancy, if you'll send that to us, that would be great.
Sure, and I'm gonna send some links too with some different ideas for eliminating plastic use as well. And now when you were talking about that, I was also thinking about, and I know you know about this, Kim, is the we have a woman that does our creation care tips for the creation, the
Mhm.
United Methodist Creation Justice Movement, and she has a really good her creation care tips. I don't know if you've ever followed those, but she does different ones every month, and she has some really good ones dealing with plastic as well. Actually, every month she's got some great stuff coming out,
Mhm.
but plastic is one of the things that she covers.
Yeah, and
So,
I just at our church, we're working on eliminating the use of plastic water bottles as much as possible. Not the reusable kind, but the disposable kind. Many people have the plastic reusable water bottles, which is fine, but we're trying to do that. And we just had an event yesterday. Dawn knows this, but we had an event yesterday and we served 185 people glasses of ice water instead of the usual bottled water that would come back to us. We were recycling those water bottles, but often they came back to us with like 3 sips taken out of them, and then we poured out the water and disposed of that plastic bottle in the recycling, of which we understand about 10% gets recycled. So we just did away with that. 6 ladies and my husband helped serve the waters, and then we have a commercial dishwasher and we wash them afterwards. So that's another way.
right, great, thank you. And I apologize, I don't know if you hear, but I have an uninvited guest on my Zoom, which is my dog. Hopefully you can't hear her barking, but she's on cue. So I know we do this for 30 minutes, and I know we'll only have about another minute, excuse me, but I will, with this, because I wanted to get your ideas, and I'm not sure if anybody else wants to share out, but I have a list of different resources for ways to cut down on plastic use. And I think I can, instead of reading them all out, I'll just make sure to send them and include the ones that Kim and I will include the ones that Nancy suggested. If anybody has anything else they want to share, we can put it in the chat and we can share that with everybody as well. Really quickly before let me get rid of my screen. I also wanted to just mention really quickly about one other resolution that, good grief. And I apologize, I'm trying to pull this up. One more resolution that has come up, and that is there's also a resolution on water protection that calls for actions to ensure that water is available and clean for all. That was another resolution that passed General Conference, and it basically, it basically says that water is a gift from God and a basic human right, and not a commodity for profit, and that we need to protect it and incorporate sustainable management to make sure we have adequate water quality for everybody. So, and that's preserving groundwater resources. And I think Kim and I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Kim, but I know that that's an important one just to be aware of for sure. Did you want to add anything, Kim? Kim? Hello? Did she freeze? Did I freeze?
You didn't freeze, but I think Kim did.
Oh, okay. I was like, Kim. So anyways, well, I think it's 12:30, and thank you so much for coming. And I really do hope that you are able to take this back and incorporate this into and share out with members of your church, members of your community, and do what you can. I know we're all doing this really challenging work. And Linda, I'm just looking at your thing, and thank you. And I hope that things are I don't know that Franklin was impacted as much as some of those communities in Western Carolina, but I hope that y'all were okay over there. Were you? Is it just me? I don't know. Anyways, we are done. It is 12:30, and thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And hopefully we will come back and see you guys next week for our Lunch and Learn. Take care.
What is next week?
Next week is, and I wish I was just thinking, oh, next week. And now, of course, I cannot remember exactly what it is. And Kim is calling me. I'm just gonna, Kim.
Hi there.
Hi, you were still on real quick. They were asking what is next week. And so I was trying to, do you remember what it is next week?
Yes. Yes, it is. Sustainable practices for annual conference sessions.
There you go. Sustainable practices for annual conference sessions, correct?
And yes, and Jared will be doing that one.
And Jared will be doing that one. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Pray for those people down there in Tampa and Florida. They will need it. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.